What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for Sports. Let me say this. I think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time when you look at high school, collegiate, and pro levels, right? And he has a very good case to be the greatest NBA player of all time. But this is my issue when it comes to, wait a minute, I have to call this person back. This is my issue when it comes to, say, comparing Kareem and Wilt. Because people like Stephen A. Smith will penalize Wilt Chamberlain for not winning enough. He only won 2 championships in a 14-year career, right? But at the same time, we revere Hakeem Olajuwon, who only won 2 championships in an 18-year career. But why is that? Because we actually watched his career and we know the reasons why he didn't win. Why? Because he didn't have, for long stretches of time in his career, the talent sufficient to win a championship. But when we use that same logic to Wilt, somehow it's making an excuse for Wilt. And I also want to point something else out when it comes to Kareem. Kareem did not start winning championships until he had a Hall of Fame, and I mean a Hall of Fame level player in the backcourt, whether it's Oscar Robertson or whether it's Magic Johnson. And when you look at the other seasons, especially during the 1970s, Kareem didn't get it done. Let's be honest. When Oscar Robertson was with the Bucks, they either won a championship, were in the finals like in 1974 and came very close to winning a championship. I think that series won 7 games with the Bucks, with the Celtics, excuse me. The Bucks at the time were in the Western Conference. Or they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Western Conference Finals. After Oscar Robertson retires, I believe that next year that he was there, the last year that Kareem was with the Bucks, I believe they didn't even make the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. I think they didn't even make the playoffs. Then when he goes to the Lakers, Kareem becomes one of only 2 MVPs to win that award while on a losing team. And they don't start really winning or start becoming a force in the NBA until Magic Johnson's drafted. And then, of course, Kareem, as maybe at the beginning a bus driver, but slowly becoming more of a bus rider, but he was in the front seat, but, Magic was more in control. He won 5 additional championships, right? But when I point out that Wilt Chamberlain didn't really have a great team around him until he was after 30 years old, and that after he was 30 years old, he went to the finals in 1967. He went to the finals again in 1969. He went to the finals in 1970, 72, and 73. The last few years, he was way past his prime. And they were going up against an all-time great team in the New York Knicks who were in their prime with 5 Hall of Famers on the roster. So my point is this. I don't get why Wilt is penalized so much for not winning more championships, going up against that great Celtic team when there was no real free agency. It wasn't like Wilt could just do what guys do now, what KD is doing, where he could just opt out and go to a team. It didn't work like that back then. If you were with a team, unless they decided to trade you, you were shit out of luck. So my thing is this. I look at it more like outside of Bill Russell, during that time period, was anybody else winning? Because like Will Chamberlain said in an interview, if I'm a loser, then damn near everybody else who's playing was a loser outside of Boston. During that entire stretch, when Bill Russell won 11 or 13 titles, did anybody else win? Not Oscar Robertson, not Jerry West, not Elgin Baylor, right? The only other guy to win a title during that stretch was Bob Pettit. So at the end of the day, my thing is, I think some players get excuses for losing. Remember, as great as Hakeem Olajuwon was, in 9 of his 18 seasons, his team either failed to qualify for the playoffs or were eliminated in the first round. Wilt at least, even in those different structured playoffs, took inferior teams much further than anybody else would have at that time. So this is, I know some people think I'm a Wilt Chamberlain apologist, but to me at the end of the day, it's easy work. It's just easy for me to explain why Wilt is being shortchanged. And I think everybody doesn't keep the same logic with Wilt according to everybody else. If you're going to penalize Wilt Chamberlain and say, hey, he didn't win enough, period, he didn't get it done, well, let's say the same thing for Hakeem Olajuwon. What we'll say? Well, Jordan, he didn't have enough help. Bill Russell, John Havlicek, Cousy, Bill Sharman, Sam Jones, all on the same fucking team. So anyway, that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think.